We are back with the final weapon of the main weapons that are in the game at the time of recording. It's the minigun. The minigun is a top 3 weapon. And today we're going to prove it. For those who don't know, fastest fire rate in the game of 25 shots per second. At least that's what it was the last time I looked it up. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. It's the fastest by a mile. I think the orb launcher is at about 15, the AR is at about 10, and then everything else is considerably slower. Is it the best weapon for your super duper pooper scooper 1,000 to 2,000 island runs that take 3 days long? No, probably not. It does have a very low base damage, and at the end of the day, every single weapon can eventually hit the fire rate limit of Unreal Engine 4, believe it or not. But for a regular, normal run, you're going a handful of loops, normal, easy mode, even nightmare, this weapon is good. Before we get going, what's up guys? My name's Furnace, your second favorite F word, and the #1 source for all things Crab Champions. Please consider liking the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. Let's get into it. So most literally, all it takes is a couple damage increasing mods here. Sharp Shot is the obvious preference among the rare level of weapon mods, but even stuff like Spiral Shot, Zigzag Shot, Snake Shot, and even Chaotic Shot, as awful as it is, will do wonders here. But a few things that you also want to get is Clip Shot and Wind Up. Both of these scale extremely well, specifically for the minigun, and even a little bit on the orb and AR. Clip Shot increases your damage by 1 per bullet or shot left in the clip. At level 1, it's a max of 50. Obviously, you can level that up and it gets bigger and bigger. Remember, the minigun has a base magazine of 125. So you can't even fully take advantage of all of those with Clip Shot level 1, but obviously you're going to level it up. You can very quickly get to the point where that's plus 125 extra damage, and then even further as you get things like Big Mag to increase the amount of bullets in your magazine. Wind Up, on the other hand, it increases your damage when you fire without stopping. Continuous fire. You know what weapons are good with that? Weapons with large magazines, like the minigun. Now there's a max of only 25 shots at level 1, so just like Clip Shot, you're going to want to level this up over time, but it works perfectly with the minigun. Clip Shot, Wind Up, that pair with something like Big Mag, like I've said, or even other things that reduce the amount of bullets you're using, like Ghost Ammo or Efficiency. It's just a match made in heaven for this weapon. I cannot stress it enough, you want to find those items. Let's move into the epic rarity here. Naturally, Damage Shot is a really nice one to find. It's actually not as impressive on the minigun as something like Sharp Shot, given that it's percentage and not flat damage. Sharp Shot is 45 additional damage per shot. That's huge on the minigun when you start with a damage of 8, 10, 12. I literally don't actually know what it is right now. It's one of those numbers. Damage Shot is an increase of 200%, so multiply your damage by 3, basically. And that is not as high as 45, but it is still a nice, big damage increase. You're going to want to get that. Now, I've said it in previous build guides, Bubble Shot works wonders here. It's only a 3-second cooldown for the time being, and that's pretty short. And with a weapon like minigun where you can continuously fire 25 shots per second at 125 round mag, that's 5 seconds of continuous fire. You're getting at least 1 bubble shot per mag. Beautiful. The reason I said for now on the cooldown thing is that if you're playing the beta build, you'll notice that a lot of the weapon mods that are cooldown based are now chance based. This changes a lot of things. And in fact, some of my past build guides are probably going to be a little bit inaccurate once this change hits the main build of the game. But if you want to check those out, go find and play the beta build. You got to right click on your game in Steam, find the beta tab, turn it on, it'll re-download, and then you're good to go and you're into the beta. Moving back into other epic purple rarity weapon mods, we also have Aura Shot. It's kind of the bigger brother of Bubble Shot. Most people prefer Aura Shot, and you know, you can't ignore the goated and scroted combo of Glue Shot and Aura Shot. Aura Shot, remember, is that permanent bubble around your projectile as you shoot it, and that bubble is like a damage producing area. It's additional damage. And then Glue Shot is basically turning your shots into a little Semtex. Sticks and then does additional damage. When it sticks, that aura continues to exist. So if you actually hit your shots, you can spam with the minigun a bunch of shots into them that stick on the enemy and continue to do damage for an additional period of time. And even though the amount of time that glue shot exists has been nerfed to be less than a second, and the damage of the auras has been nerfed, it's still extremely strong, especially with something like the minigun. So please find that combination and check it out. Moving into legendaries, as you've probably noticed, I don't really talk about them a lot in these build guides. I'm trying to keep these focused on those shorter, more realistic 1 to 2 loop runs. You're only going 30, 60, maybe 90 islands here, and the traditional game, you might not find a legendary until your legendary chest after beating the boss on 30. And if you take the win, you're not even going to play with it. So it's kind of a little bit goofy to talk about all the legendaries that exist if you're not really going to be using them or finding them. Even if you do find them, they're probably going to stay at level 1. Some of them are very situational. They're kind of iffy and ultimately not the bread and butter of most builds. But obviously, we got to talk about homing shot here. My God, even with a super low percentage chance to proc and actually home in on enemies with something like the minigun, this is by far the best item you can get. Really for any weapon, but especially for the minigun. That crazy high rate of fire means that even though it is literally a single-digit percentage chance to home, it's going to home a lot. You just shoot way too many bullets. That's how percentages work. It happens a lot. 8% of your bullets, or whatever the percent is, doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're shooting 100 per second or 25 per second, more than 100 round mag, it's going to happen a lot, right? So definitely find that if you can. And then obviously another great legendary one to get is splash damage. It just kind of adds a bubble of splash damage in the area of impact for your shots. Just a little bit of additional damage here. It's not a ton, but with that high fire rate, again, the minigun just lets it rip with these types of mods. All right, moving on to perks. I know I've been kind of glossing over these in past videos, and I'm going to do it again in this one. You can take it in a lot of different directions. The minigun is extremely versatile. Even though I've given you guys a nice build so far, you can take this in a lot of different directions from this point. So, you know, get some health-related perks, right? You never want to neglect your health. We got things like endurance to heal after each island, fortitude to increase your max health after each island, and regenerator to heal throughout islands, right? Then we've got things that increase your damage. Obviously you want those like gemstone, which is damage per island, collector, damage increasing based on the total amount of levels of your perks, and checklist, damage increases as you get additional kills. And then you still want economy, obviously. Do not neglect your economy. Obviously plenty of economy build, good old economy. And then obviously economy. Never neglect your economy. We've got things like paycheck for lump sums after each island. We've got things like bonus crystals, which just increases the amount of crystals you get per elimination, or even crystal combo, which does the same thing but is related to your combo. You can get even further down the combo builds with power armor and damage combo. All of those are a nice ecosystem if you're able to keep your armor and therefore keep your combos super high. And I don't talk about greed perks very often, but with a gun like the minigun, you really don't have a lot of downside. The whole thing about greed perks is they're super rare. There's a super big positive, but also a super big negative. A pro and a con all in one item. But when you really look at all the greed perks, the vast majority of them end up increasing your damage, health, or economy, and the drawback isn't always actually that bad. Some of them are a little bit unbalanced to where you take them no matter what. Now, granted, you typically don't get greed perks unless you're using greed totem, and then it's a random greed perk. So you are rolling the dice, but I typically do it every single time unless I'm super late in a build and really don't want to mess with my run. But this is for shorter runs, right? You might as well take the greed totem, the greed perks, just see what you get. It's, hey, spice it up a little bit. It's fun. And that does it for the final weapon of this initial build guide series. If you're watching these chronologically, of course. Now, we already know for a fact Noisestorm is planning to add more weapons in the future, like I think a flamethrower is confirmed. He's mentioned it in the Discord a handful of times. So, hey, fingers crossed. I'm a huge fan of fire items in games. So hopefully we see that soon. I know I mentioned earlier, but with the beta build and a lot of these things will obviously eventually hit the main build, cooldown mods are converting to chance mods, except a few of the stronger legendary ones. Tons of balances and tweaks and different things that are being added. So if you want to check those out early in the beta build, all you got to do again, just right click on your game in the Steam library, go into the properties in the beta section and just turn it on. It'll re-download and you'll launch in and you'll have that. Not to mention, of course, the ranked system and challenge modifiers. You guys know Halo All Skulls on. There's Nightmare All modifiers on for Crab Champions. Super fun stuff. More detailed description on that kind of stuff is available in the game's Discord channel. Link in the description. Go check it out. And with all of these changes, naturally, we are going to go back in a month or so, whatever it is, and revisit all these build guides and see how things have changed. But for the time being, these guides are still going to help you out a ton. So please, if you haven't seen the past ones for other weapons, go check those out. And you know how you can easily do that? Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you don't miss out on future build guides. There's other stuff to do besides just weapons. We're going to be getting into all sorts of other guides, dev update coverage as well, and future crazy challenge runs. Also, like the video, maybe consider ringing the bell, and yeah, stay tuned. More to come as always. Have a good one. See you next time.